Good morning, Pete Souza. I hope you're happy with yourself.
Thanks for having me on, Stephanie. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Pete, it was amazing, the film. Thank you so much. I think it really is like people that are thirsting to death. You just gave us a drink, right?
Yeah, I mean, I tell people it's not my film. I'm just in it.
Yeah.
But I thought the producers and the director Don Porter did a great job of sort of telling my story and how it relates to what's happening today.
In case you don't know, Pete Souza was the official Obama's official White House photographer. The Way I See It is the name of the film, and I mean, but it's amazing in the unguarded moments. What we've seen this past week on the campaign trail with Obama, right? I'm sure it's made you as happy as it's made us to see him and hear him speaking out the way he is. But we just saw the in between time with you that he's that guy. He's just a good guy. The way he interacted with you, he urged you to get married. He officiated your wedding in the rose garden. When it was still a rose garden. I mean.
Well, I mean, he's a decent human being.
Yeah.
And I have to say that one of the things that has come out the last week or so has been, he's got a good sense of humor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And he's using that in almost a very biting way, talking about what's happening in the Trump administration. But you sort of can see his humor coming out a little bit.
Oh yeah, I mean he seems like he's having a good time, and this has really been pent up. What do you think? What do you see, knowing him so well?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's like maybe outdoing me in terms of throwing shade.
Shade? Yeah.
By the way, the book is Shade. From your first picture that you posted, people use that word shade, right? Because isn't it amazing, Pete, that you don't have to say anything, just pictures. The contrast in pictures of Obama and Trump, we're like, oh my God, I get it. I mean, because you're right. Your pictures capture all the decency and, I mean, the iconic picture of him letting the little African-American boy touch his hair and just the decency of the man. And there's almost any picture of Trump where you can see the contrast, right?
You don't see anything like that. You don't see, I mean, the one thing that I tried to do in my photography with President Obama is show what he was like as a human being. And oftentimes that means capturing these fleeting moments of him interacting with other people, whether it's a little African-American kid or a world leader or whatever. But we don't even see those kind of pictures today with the current president.
Yeah.
We don't see what he's like as a human being. We just see the reality show that consumes this current presidency.
I mean, just the pictures, Pete, of him getting on Air Force One and all of these elderly people freezing, standing there, stranded, right, with no shuttle buses in Nebraska. I mean, it just is extraordinary what you can see just in a picture, right?
And the things that we don't see.
Right.
I said to somebody the other day, because part of the job as president is being the consoler in chief, right? You've got to have the compassion and empathy to be able to console people who are affected by a national tragedy. And I asked somebody the other day, has Donald Trump written a letter or called any of the 228,000 families that have lost a loved one from COVID? There's like no empathy coming from the Oval Office anymore. And that's really, it's a gut punch to me to see just this lack of empathy and compassion.
Well, isn't that why for some reason we know it all, and whether it's a picture or audio, but this new Bob Woodward audio, Pete, aren't you just struck by, oh my God, it's exactly as bad as we think, that just the political calculation, the lack of empathy, the lack of any kind, I mean, just the way they talk about it, Trump taking the country. Yeah, go ahead.
There's a Portuguese word. I'm of Portuguese descent. I don't really know Portuguese that well, but there's a Portuguese word called vigorista, and Donald Trump is a vigorista, which loosely translated means a con man and a swindler. That's who he is. And he's been that way throughout his life. And, look, he's trying to con us right now that we're turning the corner on COVID. No, we're not.
Yeah.
We are not. We're in a really dire situation, and he just continues to mislead people about this virus.
Yeah. Pete, do you feel like whoever the White House photographer is now is also, casting shade, or is it just that pictures of him just naturally look? I mean, you can see the line of the facade where his makeup stops when his hair is in the wind. I mean, just the pictures capture what a phony he is, don't they?
I mean, to me, the pictures that we see, whether they come from the White House photographer or from the news photographers that cover the White House, show the reality show. It's the reality show.
And
it's not, you don't see, like I was saying earlier, you don't see any of these behind the scenes moments, fleeting moments that show him interacting with people on a human level. We just don't see those.
Well, you talked about the access that you had and that White House photographers are supposed to have that Trump doesn't give, because as we can hear on even just these tapes that get released, the reality behind closed doors is probably so much more horrific than we can imagine. Of course, they don't want anybody documenting it, right?
I guess. I mean, I don't know. I mean, what we don't know is whether the official White House photographer has any access. We're not seeing those pictures now, but it's possible they have access and they've chosen just not to make them public. I don't know. I don't have any inside knowledge on that. I will say that, the interesting thing about the Woodward tapes is it's the kind of thing we've been reading about for the last 3 years in the New York Times and the Washington Post. But to actually hear it on an audio tape, him talking about it, is like just so devastating, I think.
Yeah.
The crassness in the way he thinks about everything.
I wonder what behind the scenes photographs there are. They're like boiling puppies. Who knows what's going to be released someday? I don't know. Okay, Pete, you have the book is actually Shade: A Tale of Two Presidents, a portrait in contrast, telling the tale of Obama and Trump through the years through visual juxtapositions that began on Inauguration Day and moved through the release of the Mueller report. Of course, an instant #1 bestseller in New York Times. So you're obviously in film form in book, but can I just say I love you on Twitter because you've just got more and more. Like every time he tweets. When he tweeted, the fake news is writing COVID, 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 all the way to the election, losers. And you said only 0.002% of your followers agree with you. Pretty pathetic ratings. It's because they know you're a fraud. But you have to hope so.
True.
Yeah.
You have to hope so.
Well, and I think that the way I mostly throw shade on Instagram, and that is probably a little classier and maybe more.
Is it?
Well,
more humorous.
It comes with art too, because you always post a photo with
art,
it. Yeah.
And there's a comparison, but I don't tweet that much. But when I do tweet, I'm usually pretty out there in terms of
yeah. No, I mean thank you, Allentown, Pennsylvania. When he tweets like he's on some rock tour. You just said another super spreader. According to recent scientific research, there's 100% chance that multiple people here are positive. They will unknowingly infect others in the virus who will require hospitalization and possibly die, all because of you. I mean, I think, what did somebody call it? He's Johnny Appleseed for coronavirus. I mean, he's literally is personally spreading coronavirus all over the country, right?
For sure. I mean, it's documented that is in fact the case. He did it at the Rose Garden.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a super spreader event in the Rose Garden. So it's like so sad to watch.
Yeah. Speaking of sad, you just said about his epic meltdown in 60 Minutes. He's so weak, really pathetic. Again, that comes through in pictures. He's just a coward. And by the way, I love you picked up on what Barack Obama said this week, which was about South Korea, U.S. and South Korea. U.S. and South Korea, a country of 55 million, has had fewer than 500 deaths. They control the virus. The U.S. didn't. Mm-hmm. They have had 1.3%, as President Obama said this week, of our deaths per capita. I mean, that is a stunning statistic. We absolutely were diagnosed, as you said, stunning comparison. We had our first case in the exact same week, right?
Yeah, I mean, we had a chance to get this under control to the point where it was, more manageable. And we wouldn't, and had he done that, we wouldn't have nearly as many deaths and hospitalizations as we've had. And, and that's something that is going to be his legacy. No question.
So Obama and Biden are doing their first appearance together. You've got to get some of those pictures, don't you? For the next book, for a bookend? Come on.
Well, if they're doing a joint appearance in Michigan, I live in Madison, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
If they were coming to Wisconsin, I would definitely go.
Yeah.
But I'm not traveling to Michigan. I'm doing the right thing in terms of being careful.
Yeah.
And it just wouldn't be prudent of me to travel to Michigan.
Yeah. Well, and by the way,
as much as I'd like to be there, it's not a.
By the way,
just not in
I got it. No, be careful because you are a national treasure, and I know Wisconsin is a hot spot. And it's perfect that you live in Madison. Mama loves her some Madison. Been there many, many times. It's where we started Sexy Liberal, and so please be safe because it absolutely is a hot spot now. Pete, I just have to quickly just watching the way you see it. Because I know you've obviously been doing this for so many years. Tell us how a photographer's brain works. Like, do you literally see something different than we see when you look through a camera? How do you know how to get all the great shots that you get? Like, just tell us how it works. Like, when do you wait to take the picture? What do you see?
Yeah, I guess it's kind of a combination of, just being aware of everything that's taking place in front of you. And knowing how to frame a picture, compose it artistically, but also, trying to convey the mood or emotion or context that is playing out in front of you, and doing that in a way where the still image, as opposed to a video, still image, you're clicking the shutter at precisely the right moment. And it's hard. It's hard. It's one of those things that you can't say, here's how you do it. Here are the 5 steps on how you can become, the kind of photographer like Pete Souza or whatever.
Right.
It's just something that over the course of my career, I think I've gotten, better at. And I always say to people that I don't think I'm the best photographer in the world, but I think I was the right photographer to be Barack Obama's photographer, just because of everything that I experienced in my career up to that point, knowing him professionally that for 4 years before he became president, him having an understanding of why it was important to have somebody visually documenting his presidency, and me being, the kind of photographer that just hung around every day waiting for the little moments.
The way you've spoken out about watching this presidency, Pete, who I've said over and over again, I think is really based on, more than anything, his insane hatred of Barack Obama and his racism and his, just insane obsession. It's like Moby Dick or something. It's like having to undo everything the first black president did, and, denigrate him in every way possible. It's just, it's just been disgusting. And I so appreciate it. The film is the way I see it. I believe it's on Peacock now on the, and A Shade of the Tale of Two Presidents is the book. And can I say my favorite thing about the film is how proud of you your mommy is.
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
Well, my mom died just before the film was released. She did get to see it at her nursing home, but when it was publicly released, she was no longer with us, and it was she didn't die of COVID, but because of COVID, I wasn't able to see her the last 9 months of her life, which is really, regrettable.
Oh, I mean, Pete, I'm in the same situation. My mom just went into assisted living. I'm 3,000 miles away. I haven't seen her in almost a year. And it's funny, she, on a Zoom call, said how proud she was of me yesterday. And I just burst into tears. And knowing I was having you on today, it reminded me of how your mom spoke about you in that film and how proud she must be of you. And now I'm crying about you. Okay. Pete, thanks so much for taking time. And thanks for your amazing work. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Stephanie, for having me on.
All right.
I appreciate it.
All right. And, and you were admiring my Goldwater Miller pictures behind me, so thank you. Whoever did that in 1964.
Yeah.